options. Now, a value proposition tells prospects why they should do business with you rather than the competitors and makes the benefit of your products crystal clear. Now, that is a great value proposition. For example, Uber, travel conveniently, right? Anywhere, anytime, right? So look at that. Just by telling you this, they are saying travel comfortably. They have taken care of all your needs. So when your needs are satisfied, what you get is value. The value proposition in marketing, this is another definition, is basically a feature, a service, or an innovation that makes the company or the product attractive to the customer. Now, this is where I want to stop. And I think most of you would have read Simon Sinek's The What, the How, and the Why. And he says it's always the why, the companies that respond to why are we doing it? And he says, Apple says, why is because we want to be always innovative. And that's why Apple products live up to their mission and therefore they are very successful. So the why of a company is the mission, and that in case creates the value for the customer. So let's go further. And as we dwell deeper, in fact, when you see into the value pyramid, you'll be able to understand what I'm talking to you about. Now, there are different kinds of values and benefits, right? Now, if you see the word value, it has different meanings. I'm having a lot of disturbance. There's an echo happening. Hello? Okay. So the word value has got different meaning to different people. For example, for the product designer, the designer, he looks at or she looks at the reliability of the product. And if the product works the same time, all the time, every time, then they say, yes, this product is reliable. And that is what is value for them, because they want the one that works and delivers results, right? But when, as a customer, you go to purchase a product, one of the big things that you look at is the price. At what price are we getting for the value that we are getting? So for them, value is boiled down to an arithmetic number, which is the price. For a person who's producing the goods, the entrepreneur, the value is the cost, because that is the basic beyond which only they will sell, right? If they're not, they can't sell it below the cost. So they are very worried about what is the cost. And therefore, they try to keep the cost very, very economical so that they can make a lot of profit. And of course, for the sales and the sales team, value is what you're paying at the end, which is the customer also. But remember, we are not only paying for the product, we are also paying for allied services. Like, for example, you buy a TV, you pay for the TV maintenance and annual maintenance, etc. So all this together becomes what is called as a price. So when you look at value, basically you can divide it into four kinds. The cost, which is what we discussed, the exchange value. Remember, my friends, business is nothing but an exchange of value. So you give product which I need, and the value is the currency is what you give. So there is an exchange of value, currency value for product value. Remember again, my dear friends, when you have a headache, you really look for the Saridon I give you. I'll say, oh, my head is aching, it's very aching. I look for a coffee, or you look for a Jandu balm, or you look for a Saridon or an aspirin. When you're just happy and laughing, suppose if I come and say, hey guys, please have this Saridon, have one or two aspirins, right? You're going to say, are you mad? Why would I take an aspirin, right? You do not need such a painkiller when you don't have the problem. So the most important thing is value is seen in the eyes of the beholder, and the eyes of the beholder is the one who's facing the problems. So therefore, the exchange of value is business, as I told you, for currency value versus the product value. And you can also see, based on the functional usage of the products, people see value. For example, the properties. when you talk about, let's say, the bulb, it's so many watt bulb, or it runs on green energy. So these are the properties of that particular electrical bulb. So therefore, we look and get value on it, on the quality, on the work features. And we are going to do a lot more about this in a few minutes from now. And esteem refers to the perception that the customer has about the product. And this talks about how having it is a great value, right? So for example, having a Rolex watch shows you that you have arrived, and that's a brand that you want to be seen to show the world that you have arrived. Or the reliability of the performance also, on the other hand, gives you great, oh, this has been running from my grandfather's time, and it's so great and it's so good types, right? So these are the kinds of value that you're looking for. Here are some more examples, and I'm not going to take much time on this, but getting work well done is a great value, right? For example, let's take the example of Domino's. Now, Domino's, the pizza vis-a-vis the Pizza Hut at that time, when it was first introduced in India, Pizza Hut versus Domino's, the taste-wise, Pizza Hut had a great taste, but Domino's was a decent taste, right? And both were good. I mean, I'm talking about in the earlier times when pizza was just introduced. But Domino's came up with a very strong delivery. And they said, if you don't get the pizza in 30 minutes, it's free for you, right? Life is jingalala, right? So that's how Domino's, and they geared up their entire system to meet this, that if you order a pizza within 30 minutes, it's in your door, otherwise it's free. Now look at that. Now every system, just like our Indigo Airlines, right? On time, always. Again, this is the value proposition they're giving you. And they're saying we are always on time. And if you see, everything is on time. And when you will see, the air host is also announcing closing the doors before time, arriving before time, on time, those sort of things. They keep reiterating in the minds of the customers, right? We talk about a design, of course, Ritu Berry and all the other of these designers come into your mind. When you talk about design, then of course, the MacBook Air comes into my mind. And if any of you have seen Steve Jobs introducing MacBook Air, and it's an amazing video. He says, it's so thin that the fattest part is the fattest part of MacBook is the thinnest part of my competitor. And he says, it's so thin that I can remove it from an office envelope that's floating around in the office. And he actually, in front of the camera, takes an office envelope and removes the MacBook Air very dramatically, right? Now that, my dear friends, is design. Now, if you look at iPod, I mean, of course, those are all old products, but then, it is so sleek, right? So sleek, right? And if you look at brand, as I already told you, it's about a Rolex or a Rolls Royce and all. When you talk about price, and I think many of us in my generation would remember that way back in 1970s, the surf was costing about 13 rupees a kilo, and it was very, very high. And the detergents were not very popular. It was the bar soap that people used all the time, and people like us, we actually bought surf, which was available only in a 1 kilo packet, and we shared in about 4 or 5 houses in our road. And then we kids used to get one small katori full of it for washing clothes every Sunday, right? It was that costly. And when Nirma came, Karshanbhai Patel introduced Nirma at 8 rupees a kilo, right? Woi safedi kam dam mein. That's what they came in. And if you look at Nirma, of course, it went and captured the market and shook the market leader. So they gave a great value. Woi safedi kam dam mein, right? So the same whiteness at a very low price. Now, if you talk about a Nano talked about Tataji actually wanted the middle class who aspire from their two-wheeler to get into a four-wheeler, to get a car in 1 lakh. And that's what Nano came forward with. Now, when you talk about cost reduction, as I already told you, the Reliance Fresh, Big Bazaar, all these high retail giants are bringing at very economical costs. In fact, Coimbatore, Nama Lulu Mall is one of the greatest example of cost reduction. When we talk about risk reduction, it's a great value. When the warranty period, the guarantee period, all these are increased. Sometimes for one type of brand, you'll get 2 years, another brand, you'll get 4 years. Now, these are extended warranties which are available, and these help you to reduce your risk. And these are great value creators. Accessibility. Till now, nobody could access, these private CEOs all had their own aeroplanes, but jets. But there were some CEOs who did not own a jet, but aspired to go in a jet. And that's when NetJets were formed, where 4 or 5 companies got together, bought one jet, and they had a timeshare of that particular jet. And since they owned it, it was a time slot, right? Similarly, you have time slots in Mahindra, Sterling resorts types, all that. These are all accessible. Hitherto, they were not accessible. If you look at Deccan Airlines, which first came with low-cost airlines in India, right? So they brought accessibility to the skies, right? Convergence. Nothing can converge like your mobile phone, where all the technologies are converged into one, right? Today, what all do we do with the mobile phone? You can actually measure the fetal heartbeat with your phone app. And so also can you take a ECG when you're having a heart attack. So zindagi ke saath, zindagi ke baad bhi type, right? So here we are. The phone today is just not only iPhone, any phone. Actually, the mobile does everything for you, right? You use it as for your money, you use it for your, what Graham Bell invented and what phone we have today are like amazingly different, right? Though they do one work that they are supposed to do is call and communicate. But besides that, what all do we do with the phone, right? So it converges a whole lot of technology. In fact, there is an app in the phone today that can drive away mosquitoes. So gone are your, you can Google for mosquito app, and it emits a certain frequency that only the mosquito can hear, and the mosquitoes fly away. That, my dear friends, is technology for you, right? And of course, GE Electricals actually came up with the green technology that can go with an electrical bulb, and today they spell trust. And if you look at the whole new experience, every single one of Apple's products are a great new experience because they're so innovative. You take about trust. This is again a foreign brand which talks about whole foods. And of course, Google, which is free and near free, but gives you great value. Can you imagine Google? It's all free. And that is, do you think it has no value? But it has the highest value for us because it's just information, and giving information itself is a big help. And sorry, 1 second. So when we talk about value, we are also looking at value being created when needs of the people are met. And there are many kinds of needs, which we really saw in the earlier slide. And that was actually, you can divide it into emotional need, for functional needs, emotional needs, life-changing needs, and society needs. Now, let us just see what each of these are. Now, what Bain and company did was they came up with a value pyramid, and in about 30 different kinds of value that can be generated with products and services. And they said each of this value can be generated by the features of a product or a service. When I say product, I mean product and a service. When the needs are met, how are the needs met? With different product features, then value is created. So that's what we are going to look at. We are going to look at what are the needs and how the features in the product can actually meet these needs and create value. Now, this is value pyramid. You can Google it. It's by Bain and company. And these are basically, as I told you, divided into 4 different categories. At the bottom of, I'm having a lot of disturbance. Hello, somebody is talking parallelly. I'm having a lot of disturbance. Hello? Hello, excuse me. Hello? 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 Hello?
நீ என்னெல்லாம்
Deal with
கத்துக்கிட்ட
her.
லைஃப்ல அதை எப்படி எல்லாம் யூஸ் பண்ணுவ அததான் அவங்க எதிர்பார்க்கறாங்க.
Suchitra madam, this somebody
அன்னைக்கு
called
நடந்தது
Dev there.
அவங்களும் அங்கேதானே
You will have to
இருந்தாங்க.
mute her.
அன்னைக்கு அன்னைக்கு சாருக்கும் தெரியும் மேமுக்கும் தெரியும் என்னென்னலாம்
23 MB
என்ன நடந்ததுன்னு.
M010.
Hello? Yep, I think they stopped. Thank you. So when we talk about needs, it can be in 4 layers, and we are going at the bottom of the pyramid, and we're talking about functional needs. Now, if you look at functional needs, basically saving time, simplifying work. For example, let's take the washing machine, right? So the washing clothes was a big pain. Washing machine came and it helped you save time and save your efforts too, because you're not working that much. The machine is doing for you, and therefore you can use the time more efficiently, reducing efforts. Now we talk about simplifying. Today, all those masalas that we make, it's very complicated. We are not able to get a standardized taste. Today, it is cut, snip, add hot water types. No, simplify, ready to cook, ready to eat, right? And if you look at avoiding hassles, right? Instead of going here and there, today we have Shadi Mall, where all the marriage things are available in one mall, right? So we're calling it, we don't have to run here and there. Everything is available in one shot, right? Avoiding hassles of going here and there. Or making money. I had a mentee, and he actually created an app for all the dabas and small restaurants to have a digitalized menu and an app with which you can order the menu beforehand. And by doing so, these dabas were able to reduce their working capital and save time for the customer who's coming. Now, how did he measure this? How he measured this was Nikhil just went and sat before the app. How many times the table turned? Which means when I talk about a table turn in a restaurant, I'm talking about, let's say that the restaurant is working from 10 to 10. Within these 12 hours, how many people used one table, right? So that is a table turn. And he was able to prove that before app, there were 8 times the table turned, but after the app, 11 times, which shows saving time, increasing sales, and of course, a reduction in your in your raw materials by 21%. So these were some things which he was able to talk to them. And when he took all these statistics and these metrics and went to the other dabas and said, look, this is what is happening with my client A. These are the things, these are the metrics. You can call him, talk to him and ask him, right? And it is all there in the dashboard. And he was very clearly communicating to his other customers why you can make money if you use my product. Now, that is clear value for any business person, right? Reducing risk. Now, I would always take the example of Prestige pressure cooker. Jo BB se kare, pyar kaise kare inkar, right? They brought the safety valve and said, here is why the cooker won't burst. Of course, there's a wonderful story attached to it, but I will tell it to you some other time. When you talk about an organizer, we have the calendars, everything on our phone. We have today our diaries, which helps you to organize. We have many apps that helps you to put all your, appointments and reminders, etc. Integrates, I think I talked to you earlier itself about integration on the phone. Connect. If I talk about Connect, the biggest value from Connect is from Facebook, right? We never ever thought we could get in touch with our old friends, school friends, ex-boyfriends, ex-girlfriends, ex-neighbors, every ex we were able to get connected to. And this Facebook brought connection. And what value does it give? Obviously, connection and gossip, right? That is the value I feel. Now, and if you're looking at reducing costs, I think we already talked about Nirma, and we talk about quality. We can talk about at length that how quality plays a very important role, and we are looking for standard quality, and we're looking at variety. Now, here, variety, I can give you another example of one of my mentees, Dr. Neelima, who runs a company called Coco Tang in Hyderabad. And she, in 2016, started Coco Tang, which talks about coconut water with real fruit juices. And what she has is 108 varieties of it. Now that's where I wanted to talk about, and that's what she's trying to sell. And she got the Best Women Entrepreneur Award, etc., etc. Okay. When you talk about sensory appeal, we are talking about the value that comes to your nose, eyes, ears. So whether it's a silken bed sheets that is soft to touch, or a wall that is so silky that you can touch. So these are all sensory values. Inform, and that is Google, my friends. I can't give you better example than in Google, because Google itself has become a verb. Now these are very fundamental key functional jobs that we expect from products when we use them. But besides this, they also give emotional uses to us, emotional benefits to us. For example, reducing anxiety. Now, if you remember, there is a time when we use Uber or Ola or whatever of these apps, and for girls to travel late at night. And I remember I used to get very worried when my daughter used to return from office very late. And that's when they introduced the tracking feature of a Uber app or an Ola app. And that really brought my BP down. So when you're talking about reducing anxiety, all this tracking of your courier, so it is just a small feature, but look at the immense value that it adds to the user, right? Rewards me. I think I don't have to explain a lot about this. All the cashbacks are all reward me. Nostalgia, I think that's a great value to take you back to your childhood, right? So let's say a paper boat. Now, paper boat is a drink, a fruit drink that stood out from the real and the fruity and the mazas. The paper boat came up with the name paper boat, which takes you back to childhood and reminds you of the healthy fruit, organic fruit drinks that your grandmother gave, whether it's a jaljeera or an ampanna or any of these traditional sherbets. That's what it was brought to. I can give you another example is Caravan, the radio that takes you back. It has a set of all retro music. We talk about design and aesthetics. I think amazingly the design, whether it's the fitting of your design dress or whether it is your glasses and your spectacles which has a particular design, or whether we are talking about the design of Apple Macintosh. That's what we talked about. Badge value talks about, let's say you being a Rotarian and the Rotarian pin or a lion pin or any of these things, your school badge, all this gives you a proud feeling and an emotional connect to the institution. And of course, post-COVID, I always say business is, after COVID and before COVID, BCAC, right? So business has changed after AC, right? Before COVID, it was totally different. Today, we are talking about businesses, but today, the biggest trend that we have is wellness. All of us have become more aware of our health. So there are a lot of emotional benefits that come with doing wellness, gyms, health-wise. You're looking at therapeutic needs like your yoga therapy, aromatherapy, fish therapy, snake therapy. These are all able to give you and boost in you a confidence that, okay, you're doing the right things, that's helping you. But the biggest gainer during the COVID lockdown is, of course, the fun and entertainment industry, which really made money hands over fists, because the value they generated for a very big problem, and the problem is boredom. How do I kill boredom? And it is this fun and entertainment like your OTTs and your video games that actually came into rescue. And today, if you see, these have become a very big industry. We talk about attractiveness. We are talking about the walls looking attractive, or the design looking attractive, or the house looking attractive with your paints, right? Or somebody getting the confidence by using a perfume or anything of that. So this is attractiveness, which gives you a self-confidence, and that, my friends, is also value. Providing access, we talked a lot about how Deccan Airlines came and opened up the skies for middle-class people, or a Nano did, giving access to two-wheelers people to buy four-wheelers. Beyond this is your life-changing value, which we talk about is, that which motivates, provides you hope, like your COVID vaccines, guys. It gives you a lot of hope that you will not die of COVID. So it provides you hope, and sometimes it becomes you're motivated by some particular gym master, and you like to go only to the gym because you feel that what they say works for you. So that is motivation. And of course, heirloom, that which is ancestral, that is also life changing when you inherit something of your great 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 grandfather. And of course, affiliation and belonging, where you belong to a particular cult or belong to a particular group or a community that always stands up for you. Beyond all this is the society, like the Tatas, Birlas, Reliance, and Adanis, and all these big guys have contributed to the society at large and created so many jobs, etc. And that, my dear friends, the needs of the society are met, and that is what is creating societal value. So we are looking at this pyramid, and what I talked to you is only 30, and don't think value is encompassed in this 30. Most of it comes under this, but value is something beyond all this 30 also. This is just to give you a bird's eye view of what value and values can be. Now, once we know what value is, we need to go look at value analysis. Now, when you look at value analysis is a set of techniques, knowledge, and skills used to improve and create the value of a product. Now, here is what we are going to do. Why do I need to analyze value? From an entrepreneur point of view, sorry, let me come back. So when we talk about value analysis, we are talking about taking that value that people see and analyzing with our products. Are we giving the value that people want? Now that is value analysis. How do you do it? Is it possible? Which means we need to take value and we need to bring it down to some measurable quantity and then measure it and then say, yes, it is correct. Yes, it is wrong. Is that possible? Yes, says Tony Ulrich. Let's go further to it. So the analysis is nothing but breaking the value into some components and studying whether they actually meet and fit. Now, when the value that you have created, each features, so there are two sides, right? There is the set of things that customer wants, aspires, desires from a product, right? The customer is the guy who has a problem and he or she looks forward to a solution that will be able to give them a lot of comfort, right? And here is a product that this side has a lot of features. And remember, this product has got XYZ competitors also, all trying to solve the same problem that this customer has. So we need to look at the features and what benefits each of these features have. And then we need to also study what does the customer want and match these two. And when you match these two, that's when you say you are met the value and therefore you got what is called as the product market fit. And value analysis, my friend, does exactly this. It does two things for the company when you do a value analysis. It brings down your cost because you would start realizing which features are useful to your customer, which features are not useful to your customer, and hence you can take them out. And therefore, it reduces your cost. And obviously, it just shoots up your sales because customers now find that your product is more value giving and therefore keep buying more. One second. So these are some definitions. Mark Anderson says, when do you say there's a product market fit? He says, when people are buying your product so fast off the shelf that even before you make it, or even like, for example, what happened to Dropbox? They hadn't even they hadn't written a single code. They just put a PowerPoint saying, hey guys, would you like, instead of sending all your PowerPoints and other documents, which are bulky on Gmail, breaking it into bits, would you like a place where everything can be kept and be retrieved by whoever has a password? This is all they said. And there were already people giving money enough and more to create such a product. And Dropbox already had a list of customers assuring to give money and paying them money in advance to create the product, right? And that is what I mean by creating value for a problem, right? Whereas Gust says putting yourself in the right market, the right product with them, and the market is very, very satisfied. Now, in simple words, evidence that value has been created for the customer is visible by traction. Traction is movement, which relates into cash, money coming in, validated revenue. So as I said, can we measure value? And the benefits, how can I measure benefits, right? And when you talk about benefit measurement, you should actually go look at Open Innovations and Tony Ulwick, right? Tony Ulwick actually, in fact, Clayton Christensen was the guy who introduced the concept of people actually, Professor Clayton Christensen said, people do not buy products, people hire products to do jobs for them. So the job concept was brought very clearly by Professor Clayton Christensen, and Tony Ulwick in his Open Innovation actually talks about how we can actually measure what all jobs that the product does, and then say, these are the jobs this is done, these are the jobs that are not done, and therefore we can measure it, right? Then how do you then get inputs for it, right? So if I want to measure value, I need to have some data. Where do I get the data? Where are the input data coming from? The customer, in fact, if it's an existing product, the customer feedbacks, or whether it's a new product, you go in for a customer research, right? And what do they want? How do they solve the problem? When are they solving the problem? Why are they solving the problem, right? All these feedbacks. And then sometimes there is a social media in which they're all talking about it, or a website where they have left comments, or they have answered some surveys, or they have talked about certain specifications in their questions that they have asked to the customer care, or they are very excited. Somebody has said, hey, I'm so excited, this feature is really good. Or they say, I wish it could be like this, a little more faster. So wishes, right? And any attribute of the product that they're specifically talking about, or a requirement or want, I want this types. Now, all these things are there out on the data, out in the internet. And that's what we need to have, an algorithm that scrounges all this, collect these words, and come to us about the product so that we can understand what the customer expectations are. Now, so obviously, if you want to measure value and you want to do an analysis of value, you need to get out of the building, test, do a lot of experiment, iterate, build, measure, and learn, and do the lean step. The basic 4 steps for value analysis is this: gather information, right? Basically more on your customers, your product, and your competition. Very important is your competition. Second, identify what the customer wants, which means you need to go to get out of the building, go to the customer, talk to them. Now you have to identify the segment of customers. You can't go to all the customers. You need to identify the most important segment that is very fastly buying your product, or which requires your product very, very badly. The need is much more, or it's an underserved market, or an unsegment, or which is poorly serviced. You pick that segment, and you need to understand what are the jobs that the customer wants to do. Right? So, for example, if I buy a lawnmower, the basic functional job that I want to do is cut grass. Now, can I cut grass faster? Will it cut only the blade? Will it cut from the roots? Will it shave off the grass? No, these are all the functional jobs that I expect a lawnmower to do. How much current it will use? Should I push it? Will it run automatically? Those are the jobs, functional jobs. But there are emotional jobs also I'm looking for. For example, I look at, if I have a well-trimmed lawn, which is very well cut, I think people who are looking will think, oh, wow, this female keeps her house so clean. Maybe the inside of a house is also very clean, right? So these are some emotional values that I get from a fantastically well-mowed lawn. So there are also some irritations I have. If current is not there, I have to push it, right? So that could be a pain, right? That could also be, again, in terms of, while I'm doing the job, before I'm doing the job, or during the jobs that I'm doing, I have a lot of irritations, right? So that could be, or I could also have some delights, right? For example, let's say my lawn mower has got a tendency, has a switch that can do cut grass. I can actually measure 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch. I have a measuring thing which no other lawn mower has. So I'll be able to cut grass to the exactly the inch that I want, right? So those are some things that will delight me, right? So these are something that we need to find out. What does the customer want from a simple lawn mower? Like, what are the functions? What are the problems that they face? What are the delights that they are expecting? So get all this information. Then the third step is to take your product or your service and divide it into its features. List out all the features and then start looking at each of the feature. Is it a functional feature? Is it an emotional feature? Is it a life-changing feature? Is it a societal feature? Now, that is what we need to actually do it. And then once we do that, the fourth thing that we need. So you take out a feature, lawn mower, it has changeable blades. So like that is one feature. It comes in all colors. That's another feature. So you have varied kind of feature. Electricity consumption, the wireless. So like that way you take all the features and what benefit comes from each of this feature. All right. Write it down and then start the match. That is the last step. You match each feature, the benefit, with the customer expectations, right? So once they match, if more than 50% match, right? In fact, there are a set of questions that you need to ask and say, is there a match? And when this match happens, you know that your value created is good, you have a perfect product market fit, and you can be rest assured your sales is going to shoot up. But if it is not happening, so if it is not answering and there is a lot of no's instead of a yes match, yes, they are matching, no, they're not matching. If there are more no's, then my dear friends, it's time to revisit your features again. Remember, we cannot change the customer's expectations and desires. What we have in our hand is our product and product features, which is what we can change. So we can do 4 things only to the features. We can delete the features. We can add new features. We can enhance the existing features, or we can reduce the features, right? So what Paperboard did was they reduced the packing to a small Tetra Pak, and they enhanced the taste. They made it organic. So these are some of the things that they did to an existing fruit juice packet, right? So once you redesign by add, minus, enhance, or reducing features, then you see whether it's, again, check whether the fit is there. And if the fit is there, freeze it and release it in the market. And keep going for retest. So basically, these are the 4 steps. A lot of information. Identify your customer needs and expectations. Check out your product features and the benefit arising from each of these features. Test and match the product expectations with the features and see if there is a fit. If there is no fit, redesign your product features. And this, my friend, is given very clearly in the value proposition canvas by Osterwalder. And if you go on the net and you see this, it's very, very interesting. I would now like to leave you with an example before I go and we go for the questions. So let's take Uber, right? For a person who wants to use a taxi, what are the expectations, right? Functionally, I would like, obviously, I'm taking a taxi because I want to move from point A to point B. I have to call the taxi, get out of the taxi should move, and I should pay the taxi and get off, right? So those are the functions I expect, right? Functional jobs that I expect from a taxi. When I look at a social job, if suppose, let's say I'm all dressed well and I would like to go, and get down, rather than getting down from a auto or anything. If I go get down from a taxi, it shows that, oh, okay, I've come, there's some social standing. So that's a social need. Whereas if you look at privacy, suppose I want privacy, I want to talk something important, I want to talk in a meeting, I have a conference, then instead of going in a bus, I would like to take a taxi because it gives me a lot of privacy. So these are emotional things. So when we look at a taxi. It does a lot of functional jobs, it does emotional jobs, it does societal jobs. Let's take another example, online degrees, right? So basically, the function of an online degree, let's say in an adult education, is to give me a degree at whatever be my age. And therefore, it gives me a set of knowledge which I can possess and therefore claim that I have a certificate. On the other hand, emotionally, from being a no graduate, high school person, to suddenly being shown as a graduate is a very emotional moment. At whatever my age, I've got this graduation, right? And society is, if I go with my grandchild to get for the convocation, it sort of says I'm arrived, right? So if you look at any product or a service, you'll always find that there are functional jobs, emotional jobs, social jobs, all those things, right? And if you go in a taxi, let's come back to my same example. Let's say what are the biggest pain you can have is, number one, if the driver is going on talking on his phone. Number two is if he's playing loud, stupid music. Number three is if the car is dirty and it's smelling, right? Or suppose, one of the other, in those days before Uber, we had a lot of these negotiations of prices that we still do with our auto guys, right? And we never knew where is the distance. They gum ke, they'll take us and go, then too you will not know. What are the delights that you can expect when you sit in a taxi? You suddenly find that that guy says, hey, there's free Wi-Fi, would you want it, right? Or somebody just stops and the driver says, ma'am, what type of music would you like to listen? I have an assortment of Carnatic music, folk music, and things like that would probably delight us. We'll feel very, very happy. What did Uber do? They did entirely all these things, and they created an app with which you can hail, travel, and pay, and you will know exactly what are the timings, etc. What are the pain relieving features that they put? For example, rating the driver so that you will be able to, complain about the driver. There was a map which will tell you what is the time, and it will show you the shortest route, and it will show you where the, crowds and traffic is, and you can track, as I told you. Now there, Uber also introduced Uber Eats. In some places in Uber, they actually keep kittens in a basket so that you can de-stress yourself while you're traveling, and in some they even sell insurance. So my dear friends, I hope the value proposition has been very clear to you. Just one more point that I want to add is add value. Whenever we have an existing product or service, we can keep adding value because you adapt the features. And as you adapt the features, you enhance or you reduce or you introduce or you delete, right? So improved Bonvita, improved Horlicks, that will make you taller, sharper, and fun. All these are basically differentiators, and these differentiators create add value. Remember, features can be easily copied. And therefore, for an organization to be successful needs to be from customer driven to value driven. And that is something that not everybody can copy. So differentiators can be created in many places, like, for example, in the quality, in innovation, in their responsiveness to the customers and the psychological desires, wide choice, form, shape, durability, all these things. So try and create differentiators which are very, very hard to copy. So if you are created something on which you have a patent or a trademark, nothing like it. Communicate your value through statements, and they found, research has found that where a company communicates its value statement as to why it is in business very clearly on its website, there is a whole lot more than 33% more traction than companies who have not displayed their value statement, right? You need to communicate your value. And today your digital has got so many things. I'm going to just talk about one or two, and one is metaverse, right? Now, when you're talking about using technologies like your augmented reality, AR, or virtual reality and mixed reality and all that, today we are in a place where if I'm selling a very complex machinery, I can have this AR, VR on it, and people can actually work on the machine very, very easily. and that is the manual for you, which comes on top of the machine and actually blinks at the switch that you need to switch on, and puts red light on which you should not switch on. So those sort of conveniences have already come. Now look at the way where a company that offers such a fantastic way of how to use the machinery for the first time, right? It can be done so well, and that, my dear friends, creates immense value. Or having a chatbot 24 into 7 for your customer services actually creates a lot of value. Or you're looking at short videos in regional languages. Today, regional language is a great value. And we're talking about vernacular languages based videos on manuals on how to use your products, etc. Or using influencers in a big time. Today, content marketing is one of the largest, and the biggest. Now, it doesn't enough that you write content 1 page or 2 page. Today, the trend is you should have more than 2-3 pages of content. That is where the trend is going, that you need to put everything so that people can read it at leisure and understand it and move on. So, my dear friends, streaming live is another great thing. And so these are some of the, today we have so much of technology. We have synchronized music for an ad jingle. For example, if you love listening to Carnatic music, you can hear the same jingle in Carnatic music. And if you love pop, then the same jingle will come to you in pop music. And that's called synchronized music. And that is now the biggest, latest trend in communicating value through advertisements. With that, I would like to stop with some of the metrics with which you can actually measure your traction. So how many people leave, how many people are growing on from time to time, what is your market share vis-a-vis your competition, how many people actually are retained by you, customers retained, etc. So thank you, and I'm now open for questions. Any questions? No questions?
Ma'am, good evening, ma'am. Very, very relevant topic. I think that is the core of any marketing or any enterprise, or the reason for the existence of any organization, I feel.
Yes, the
And
why.
I think which is something we miss the identifying the actual value for the consumer. We get caught up in our own love for our product which we have made or designed, and
Exactly.
we do not actually test it as to whether it has any relevance for the target market. I think that is where I have seen that most of the products or new product launches fail, because it is somebody's pet project and they push it through. Even in large MNC organizations, so-called professional organizations, I have seen projects being pushed through and products being pushed through which actually have not been tested. The basic thing, I think Philip Kotler had been saying, is that you have to first do product concept testing. Am I right now? With your
Yes.
target market.
Yes.
So everybody's in a rush to launch their product and advertise it. I think if we get a better sense of how to sense or judge our own product's value, I think a lot more products may succeed in the marketplace.
Exactly. While you're creating a product or an existing product, continuously we need to analyze the value and see whether we are in sync with what the customer wants. And that is something that we need to do. Ma'am, you're muted.
Ma'am, you have muted actually.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, sir.
Any other questions?
I think we have so many students, and all of them actually, definitely 80% of them would have chosen marketing. This is exactly the entire crux of marketing. This entire session is all about product management and brand management. So, any students?
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, ma'am. It's very good session.
Thank you, sir.
You hit the nail on the head many times.
Thank you.
And excellent presentation, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
And you have quoted various, value of the service and goods and other things. And can you mention about educational institutions, ma'am?
You want me to talk about value proposition of of an educational institution?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not
So,
too many.
actually, I would really it's quite a pet topic of mine. So, when you talk about a value proposition, what do the people want? Now, who is the customer for an educational institution? Is obviously the students, right? Now, when you look at a student, what does the student expect from, what are the expectations, what are the desires of the students when they come to an educational institution is, of course, knowledge. And basically, they're looking more at networking and creating interpersonal relationships.
Yeah. Sorry, sir.
And so these are the things that the customer wants. And
Any questions, please?
Sir, I think ma'am, sir had asked me a question on what are the educational institutions and their expectation value. So that's what I'm talking about. So when you look at an educational institution, the value that they create is through various features. Now, each educational institution in competition with other educational institutions tries to impart this knowledge in many ways. So practical knowledge, bookish knowledge, theoretical knowledge, hands-on experience. So these are the various aspects through which they disseminate knowledge to the students. And the more they are able to do this, the more industry savvy they let their students to become. The product becomes more industry savvy, the more is the acceptance and the traction outside, the more innovative. So basically, I think the best thing an educational institution is to give opportunities for the students to solve problems. If they teach them how to solve problems, and that is an entrepreneurial mindset, and then innovative thinking, creative thinking, critical thinking, all that we can put all together. How do I solve a problem? Cheaper, faster, and better. If that knowledge is disseminated to the students, I am very sure the value of that institution will increase. And believe me, this benefit is not seen immediately, but it will be seen over a long period, a larger gestation period is a little longer. It will come. And once that is built, it can never be mitigated because it's such a strong foundation. And that is the value proposition of an educational institutions and a student, right? To make the student a king. Knowledge, innovative mind, network, and G is for great character and ethics, right? Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Any more questions? Okay, ma'am.
Yeah. Any more questions? Yeah, Ms. Neha?
Yeah, ma'am, I'm here, ma'am. Am I audible,
Yeah.
ma'am?
Yeah, you're audible, Sneha.
Yes,
You can
ma'am.
give the vote of thanks, no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Gratitude is not only the greatest of virtues, but the parent of all others. It's my great pleasure to be a part of 495th Monday Musings. Myself, Sneharis from Avinashlingam Department of Business Administration, to propose the vote of thanks. On behalf of office bearers of CMA, faculty members, and students, I extend my profound thanks to the guest, Dr. Ratika Meenakshi Shankar, founder, Wise Owl Consulting Services, for gracing this event with your esteemed presence and for sharing your valuable insights on the topic, creating and communicating enhanced product value. The discourse on the product value pyramid and value proposition have undoubtedly broadened our perspective, and your emphasis on aligning product features with customer needs and desires resonated and left an indelible mark on our understanding. Thank you, ma'am, for sharing your knowledge and also your expertise with us. I would like to also extend my heartfelt gratitude to R. Varadarajan, President, Coimbatore Management Association, for the generous support and contribution. Thank you, sir. A special thanks to all the organizers for your commitment in planning and executing this event flawlessly. I also want to say a big thanks to all the faculty members for giving us this wonderful session. Last but not the least, I would like to thank all the participants for your participation. Without your presence, this event would have not been possible. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you, Sneha.
Thank you,
Yeah.
ma'am. Thank you,
Okay.
and all the
Thank
best to
you.
all of you. God bless each one of you. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.